into the cloud. So please, and I know that Lisa sent me something about how to lock our things so that nobody could accidentally do it, but I haven't quite gone there to figure it out yet.
I haven't either, and I'll make an effort to do that.
Okay, because I know she forwarded it to both of us, but we'll get there.
Yep.
And so we are now being recorded. So now let's try to go live on Facebook now. And so, but there is a live on YouTube. So in the future, I think that maybe we'll try to do some live on YouTube things. I don't know what your feeling is, everybody.
Sure, why not?
You
know,
promote our thing, and that way, I mean, we really have to do some different type of advertising and promote it a little bit more, but
yep.
so let's make sure and see if it really works correctly.
The rest of the world is doing live on YouTube. No reason we shouldn't be.
Exactly. So we're beating live with Taurus, Rochelle, Hannah, etc. Let me just move Fringe out of the way so I need to type. Oh, Hannah has a capital H. I'm sorry, I'm working on it. Okay, we want to share to a page, and we want to share to Upper Midwest Bead Society, and then we go live. And then we'll cross share Bobby Bead as soon as we get there. So Maggie, you're on Facebook?
I am. Okay. Yep. Just got the notice that we're live on Facebook. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is the Upper Midwest Bead Society's Beading Basics Live. And we're still waiting on suggestions for what to rename this little session that we have once a month. So if you have ideas, feel free to get a hold of me or Rochelle or anybody else on the board and let us know what your creative title might be. And I'm not going to talk about what we're going to do today because Rochelle can do that. I just want to make a couple of short announcements about the umbs.org webpage. We have right now, we've got all of the information up for our demo and do event, which is for all of August. We have, I believe, 10 teachers and I don't know, 13 or 14 classes. And it's all up on the website, but we're waiting for PayPal permission on the button. That won't happen until Monday. So I put a little under construction note on that page. And the bead retreat is coming up at the end of September. And we'll be working on that page in the next week or so, and we'll get that going live too. But that also is still under construction. So we appreciate your patience. We're not techies. We're trying real hard to catch up, but we'll get there. So thank you. And I'm now going to hand everything off to Rochelle.
And so, hello everybody. Happy Saturday. We are really excited to have two of our regular presenters with us today. You've seen them before here. And so we are very happy to see them again. They are so multi-talented that they, so we have Doris Coghill, which is going to start us off with a really cool version of spiral herringbone that's going to floral you up for your summer. And then Hannah has got all kinds of different fringe. We started our Fringe Fest and now we're continuing it with a variety of other things that you haven't seen before. Or maybe not used in this capacity. And so then I will finish you off with some brick stitch fringe embellishments, but we'll also talk about how we use fringe in our designs. So stick around with us all day. We're here from 1 to 4. And so feel free to bead along with us, ask questions to the teachers. And so we're gonna start off with Doris and her spiraling floral and belly. Take it away, Doris.
Okay. First I'll show you, am I echoing? Am I okay?
You're not echoing, but you're almost in focus. Not quite yet.
Okay, how?
One more inch. Where are we? Maybe I'm
Okay.
just blurry.
Hey, Doris,
Yep,
can you move your camera up a little bit? I think that it's just a little bit too close.
no, then it
No.
gets worse.
Oh dear.
We
Okay.
had the sweet spot here, but it,
Oh, wait, I think that's right.
okay.
How's everybody else feel about that? I think that's good on mine.
It's still a little bit, there we go.
Oh, there, right there, right there.
There, okay, okay. This is a spiral underbelly that is embellished in 2 places. And that's not going very well, but there we go. And a straight underbelly without any embellishment. No, I guess I don't have a straight underbelly without any embellishment. I tend to embellish all mine. But you can use, we're doing 2 sets of underbelly or herringbone, and you can use the same color or you can use 2 colors. If you choose to use 2 colors, the color that you pick up first will be the dominant color in the bracelet. Like in this one, the bright green is the dominant color, and that's the color that I picked up first. So you need to make a choice if you're going to use 2 colors, which one you want to be dominant. So we're going to use double thread. So thread your needle with double thread, and you don't have to knot it or anything. We will pick up, I'm going to call them A and B, the 2 colors of, now I got to figure out where the sweet spot is here again. I think it's about, there we go. Okay, I'm not high enough. Okay, so pick up the 2 colors, and you're going to go back through, you want them sitting side by side. So you're going to go back through, or I'm sorry, form a circle and go through the first one so that they are sitting side by side. And I'll get this figured out where the, okay. Then go through, down through your B. What we're doing is creating a 4 bead ladder. And the goal is to have them sit with their sides touching. There we go. And then pick up an A, go down through the B, and back up through the A. So we now have, okay, I thought we had this focus figured out, but apparently we don't. I know I'm going to move these so that this is here and the only thing in.
Yeah, because it was focusing on your bead tray. Now it's
Yeah.
perfectly in focus on your hands. Yeah.
Okay. And so you're going to have a 4 bead ladder with them sitting side by side. You're going to roll that into a circle and come up the first bead. And then down the A next to it. So now you've got a little square. and come, oops, I'm sorry, that was a B. Come up through the A. Now, when you're doing end to belly, the directions are written so that you're looking at it from the side. So you're going to pick up an A, a 15, and a B. Now that 15 is just going to float. You will never go through it again. It's just decoration. Go down the B. And see that 15 just kind of sits there and floats. Go up the A next to it and do the same thing. Pick up an A, a 15, and a B, and go down the B. Now, if you were doing a regular square end belly, you would step up to complete the row. In this case, what makes it spiral is that you do not step up. You pick up another 15 and go up the top. I'm seeing now that I should probably, let me try and move this. That way you can look at it the same way I am.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay. So you went up the top right bead. So again, we're going to pick up an A, a 15, and an A and a B. And this time we're going to go down 2 beads. And pick up a 15 and always go up the top bead to the right. And it's the method of going down 2 and up 1 that makes it spiral. So we'll repeat that once more. An A, a 15, and a B. Go down 2 and up the top one on the right. Whoops, I forgot to pick up my 15. See, even teachers goof. So pick up a 15 and go up the one on the right. Now, also another thing to keep in mind is that when you're doing herringbone, your thread is always going to show. So you want to pick a color of thread that matches your size 8 beads. And now we're going to wax the thread. My focus is still not quite right, is it?
What kind of thread are you using, Doris?
I use spool Nymo, which is totally different from bobbin Nymo.
Okay, tell me why. I don't know that.
The Nymo was originally made for the shoe industry. The bobbin Nymo went on the bottom of the machine and the spool Nymo went on the top of the machine. It's the same size and it will go through the thread the same amount of time, but the spool Nymo does not split like the bobbin Nymo, and it's got an extra coating on it, so it's slightly heavier. So if you're doing fringe and want the drape, use the bobbin Nymo. If you want a little bit more rigid, use the spool Nymo. And I sell that on my website in about 12 colors.
Thank you. That's fascinating.
Yep. And in my mind, you have to pick the thread to match the project. I was teaching actually, I think a spiral underbelly class one time, and we couldn't get the darn thing to spiral. Well, it was because they were all using bobbin Nymo. And it wasn't tough enough, or maybe it was a spiral rope, and it wasn't heavy enough to hold the spiral. Okay, so now we're going to do the A, the 15, and the B again. Go down to, and this time we're going to do our next embellishment, which is to pick up a flower and a 15. Skip the 15 and go back through the flower and pull it tight. And I'm not getting, there we go. And then go up your top one on the right. So you will have an embellishment on the side. Now we'll do the A, the 15, and the B again. Go down 2. And if you're using 2 colors of flowers, this time, okay, come on, cooperate here. This time we're going to pick up the other color of flower with the 15, so that you will have a spiral of flowers in one color on one side of the bracelet and a spiral of flowers in the other color on the other side of the bracelet. And as with all herringbone, you can see that it's wonky. It doesn't stay, once you get it sewed together, it will stay together, but while you're sewing, it's going to look wonky. Now, okay, again, A15B, go down 2, and this time we're not going to put a flower because they would be too close together. So just pick up a 15 and go up. So you can see that the flowers are slightly spaced apart with a 15 there in the middle. And so every other side embellishment is a flower, but you can see that the row of 15s stays here on this side. So A15B.
I love that. That's gorgeous.
And, okay, let me finish this stitch. The fun thing about this stitch, and as I said, it's the down 2, up 1 that make it spiral. And so you have 2 colors. And you can see that the one color of 8 is the dominant color. Now, what's fun, you can also use teacup beads. Okay, come on. Let me move this. It's focusing on this stuff. Yeah. There. You can use teacup beads.
Super cute.
Or you can use larger flower beads. And then I'm going to get into, so you would just keep doing that same stitch for as long as you want the bracelet or necklace, whatever. If you want a necklace, you maybe don't want the flowers sticking you in the neck. And so do just a plain for a couple inches before you start adding the flowers. So you can embellish, you'll have embellishment on all four sides. So you can get creative. You could use 4 different colors of size 8s, 4 different colors of size 15s. This is like one of those, it's kind of like spiral rope in the fact that whatever you do, it's going to look different. And here are some examples. This one is 2 colors of 8s, and it's kind of hard to see because of the light. And just 1 color of 15. And so it makes a very nice spiral to use for a pendant or something like that. Then you can get creative. And I added, instead of 1 15, I added a loop of 15s and increased that loop so that,
Wow.
so it's very versatile. Whoops, just lost my camera. Let's try that again.
That
Oh.
15 loop thing is super cool looking.
Yeah.
How many
Now-
beads in your loop do you have?
Between 5 and 8, I think. Now here's another embellishment. Whoops, let me back this up a little here. Okay. In this one, instead of a 15, I used an O bead, or you could use a demi. Okay, it's focusing on that stuff. Let's get that out of there. Instead of a 15, in every other one, I used an O bead. And on the side embellishment, I picked up 4 demis, went back through the first one to create a loop, and then up through that top bead on the right. So again, it's a totally different look. And here's another one. This one has, this is with 11s, but the all 4 11s are the same color. And I'm just not happy with this. I'm going to have to play with this, getting it to be in focus. Okay, let me try this.
It was on focus on your mat when you had it sitting on your mat. It was,
Yeah.
but then it went out. I don't know what the trick is. Anybody have any ideas?
I thought it was
Okay.
focused when she just laid it still on the mat, but I don't know.
Yeah, how, but it's like it's not close up enough to see. This one is, okay, I'm going to try moving this again. There. This one is, the 11s are all the same color, and these are size 8 demis in every other one. Then again, here's a loop of 4 size 11 demis.
And your
And-
loops are always in between your 2 stacks
Right.
of
I'm
core
going to
beads.
try this way. Let's try this camera. Okay, so here's the loops. then you can also get creative, and you don't have to use just a round bead. This one has triangles. So instead of picking up an 8, a 15, an 8, this is an 8, a size 11 triangle, and an 8, and it's got 3 sets around. And this also makes a very nice to hang a pendant or something off of. Then if you want to get really creative, you add fringe off of it. So this has got, you just pick up the 2 8s when you do your regular herringbone, but again, between the two, you pick up a fringe, you make a fringe before you go into the top right one. And so that makes, you can make a very frilly bracelet. Then if you don't like to embellish your stuff, this is just a plain herringbone spiral, but with 2 sizes of beads. The green beads that are sticking out are size 8s, and the recessive ones are size 11s. And you just make sure you pick up the larger bead first. So this is 8s and 11s. This is 11s and 15s. And that also makes a very nice chain for something to hang a pendant or whatever off of. It's very easy to do, very fast, and it looks totally different. I've also done it with size 11 rounds and either Icos or Delicas, and that is about the same size as this one, but it's very nice. In this case, this one is the top to a lariat. And this one just has a pendant hanging off of it. So herringbone is very easy to do and very versatile. You can change whatever you're doing just based on the beads you use. It's kind of like spiral rope. It doesn't even look like it's the same. You'd never realize that these two are actually the same pattern of spiral herringbone.
Can you show the demi versions again? Is what somebody wants, and they want to know the loop. Yeah, it's the same place where the flower, like if you're looking at
Right.
your pattern, it'd be the same placement every other, or you're doing it every one.
Depends on what size beads you're using in your loop. In this case, yes, it's every one. And yep, in this case, it is in every one. It's only with the flower or a bigger bead that you have to do every other to give it. I mean, you could do every one, but then I think it might look crowded. And you don't want that. You want it to be attractive without, sometimes a lot is just a little bit too much. And again, you can also do this with size 11 beads if you want a more delicate spiral. And just these smaller flowers would probably work on 11s, and then I would still use 15s as the additional embellishment. Does anybody have any more questions?
Doris, do you sell any of the patterns with the different embellishments on them or?
Yep, they're
Oh.
all, this one is called Floating O's
Okay, floating nose. So
because,
it's got O beads?
yep, and it has beaded beads in it.
Okay.
So this one specifically is not in a pattern, but it's the same as this one.
What's that? Floating nose?
Floating O's.
Okay.
This one is called Lee's Twist. This one is something or other lariat.
Okay.
And this one is interesting because it goes, you start with herringbone, peyote, netting, and it goes back and forth between all of them to get this part of it done.
Oh, very cool.
So that one is interesting. This one I haven't written yet. That's my next task, is to write that one.
Oh, very cool. I like how you you changed it up with all the different beads and
Mhm.
the different loops and all
Yeah.
that. That was so cool. And the friend?
And this one is called the confetti necklace, and then there's a bracelet version too. This is the bracelet.
And so Doris, when you were talking about the bobbin thread, does
Uh-huh.
that mean the spool thread, is that the 250-yard spool of Naima or the 3-ounce cone? Is the 250-yard thread? Okay.
Yeah, and then the cones also, the great big huge cones.
Uh-huh.
Those
Well,
usually just come in black and white.
Yep.
The little ones like this are getting harder to find because a lot of the distributors have stopped carrying them.
Yeah, we can only find black and white as well. We
Yeah.
can't find colors. So
But I have a good stock.
that's cool. That's the same with Toho 1G thread. The little bobbins, the 50-yard bobbins, are wound so tight to be wound on that tight little thing that you do have to pre-stretch
Mhm.
your thread in order to get the kinks out, where the ones on the giant spools, the 125 and the 250, they don't have that issue, they're not as
Ah,
tight. And so I don't know about the thickness, like you were saying, but I do know that the texture and tension is slightly different.
yeah, and I always stretch all of my thread because see, it's curly. And then once you stretch it, that curl goes away. So I stretch all of my thread after I thread the needle before I use it.
Do you ever use Fireline or Wildfire or anything like that with your spirals, or do you not recommend it, or?
You could, then I would just use a single strand. I don't like Wildfire because it is a 6-pound Fireline and a 6-pound Wildfire. The Wildfire is thicker. And so it won't go through the beads as many times. So I do not tend to use Wildfire ever. I use Fireline if I'm doing something with crystals or something that is going to take a lot of abuse. And so it's because it's heavier.
Doris, I've got somebody on Facebook who would like you to walk through the beginning again.
Okay.
I think she missed most of the beginning. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, how do you start and how do you continue the spiral?
Okay, so I'd have to start a new thread, but basically you have 2 size 8s and a 15, and the first, we'll call the first one A and the second one B for the size 8s. The A will be the dominant color. So you need to decide which one you want to be your dominant color. So you pick up we're going to do a 4-bead ladder. So you pick up an A and a B and go around so that they're sitting side by side. and then add another A and then another B. Let's see if I can make it. So that they're sitting side by side in a 4-bead ladder. Then you will pick up an A, a 15, and a B. And go down the one right below it and up through the next one to the right. Repeat that, but this time go up the top bead to the right. Then you will do the same thing, A, 15B. This time you'll go down 2, pick up a 15, and go up the top one in the right stack. And it's this action of going down 2 and up 1 that makes the herringbone spiral. And you will keep doing that, but on the next round, instead of just picking up a 15, you will pick up a flower or whatever you're using for your embellishment before you go up that bead on the right. And then
If you're using a teacup, do you use a 15 under the teacup or just a teacup and then the 15 is the stopper?
just the 15 is always just a stopper.
Okay.
And you keep going, and when you're doing your rounds, you want the flower in every other. So there's one embellishment in there that just has a 15. Otherwise, the flowers get too close together and they won't lay flat. Does that answer her question? What'd you say? It was a Facebook person?
Yes, and I just want to mention that you can download this free pattern on the umbs.org site on the home page and scroll down to where we've described this presentation by Doris. And on one of the pictures, you can click on the picture and it'll take you right to the pattern, and you can download it and print it yourself. So you can see all of those diagrams that Doris was showing you. So thanks, Doris.
Uh-huh. So that was a quick and dirty herringbone lesson.
So what about finishing it?
You can either, in the pattern is a direction for a self toggle where you do a peyote tube and then do a loop on the other side to go over the peyote tube, or which is what this is. So you make your own toggle with a loop on the other side, or you can put some kind of a button or something here. And still the loop over the button. So it depends on what you like.
What's your trick for tapering it down to get it to look pretty at the end? Because it's kind of open and splayed sort of.
It is. You just do one row around with no beads. So do the same thing, go down through 2, up 1 without picking up any beads, and do that all the way around, and that will pull it back together.
Right. That's pretty cool. So you just did the solid color to end it there. I see. Wow. I mean, and this is a myriad of possibilities of what you
It
can
is. It is. It's because I started pulling out pieces and I'm going, oh, there's a lot of different ways you could do this.
Well, because it's like whatever beads you've got hanging around your house too.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And this one, I think, because I wanted to use the size 6 demis is the reason I did this. And then with the O beads in the middle.
So how many grams of the demis does that take to put them in the embellishment like that? It looks
That
like
I
a
don't
lot.
know because I didn't specifically write this one up.
Oh,
On this one, I'd have to look at the pattern.
and so,
But, and then this one, here's another finish. I took probably a size 6 or maybe a 4mm and covered it with beads to make a bauble with a loop on the other side.
nice.
So there's a lot of different finishes you could do depending on what beads you have. Or sometimes you don't have a clasp. So it, without going to the store. And so it's handy to be able to do your own toggle.
Mhm. Can you do this? How many beads wide? Like normally this is 4, but can you do this like 6 bead, 8 bead herringbone, like bigger, bigger, bigger?
This one is 6.
Okay.
And you can press it down. You might think that that's too floppy and you might want to put a slight cord in the middle, but it actually stays very nicely. I mean, if you touch it, you can press it down,
Mm-hmm.
but usually it will, because it spirals. If it was a straight round, I don't think it would stand up quite as well. And in this one that has the triangles in it, the point of the triangles is all in. So you see the backside, you see which gives you more color.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love how the triangles do that. That's really cool. Does it work with hexagons and other shapes too, or maybe not?
The
They might not bend very well to rotate.
Yeah, the hex, I don't know if the hex would work. You could use a bigger, like a size 11 in there.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're spreading apart the herringbone pieces. And so that's why, like on this one, I use the O beads or the demis,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't want to spread that herringbone too far apart.
That makes sense.
And I do have another bracelet that's herringbone, but it's a straight herringbone, so you have to do a step up. And on that one, I've got a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch fringe on each side of the bracelet. And that one you have to do another circle loop to anchor it. So you have to be careful that you don't get anything too big and wide in there.
And how do you get your tension to be better? You said as you go, it gets better, but are there any tricks to keeping it better
The
or
wax.
getting it better?
Yeah, wax. So wax your thread.
Okay.
Thank you, Doris. That's wonderful information.
It is so darn exciting. And so you've got so many patterns on your website. And she's going to be teaching for our demo and do August summer camp as well.
Yeah, let me go grab it.
And so the date of that, let me just grab that real quick. Sorry, I thought we'd all be prepared here. The 10th, August 10th, she's going to be teaching this beautiful Tila necklace, and it's from 1 to 4 p.m. It's a Zoom class, and Doris has kits for it as well. There it is. There's 2 different colorways.
Or you can make up your own.
Why don't you
Somebody-
tell them about your class?
Somebody has a question in chat about whether or not you suggest any particular type of wax for your Nemo.
I use microcrystalline wax. I like that better than beeswax. And you can also get that on my website if you need some. I have pretty much a full bead store on my website.
Indeed.
Yes, there's, oh geez, probably 20 different kinds of 2-hole beads and square beads, triangles, shape beads, daggers, beading supplies, storage, just about anything you'd need. Needles, thread, kits and patterns.
And
And you could always come out to my house and go shopping.
that's right. You've got that new house out in the beautiful neck of the woods.
Yeah,
That's like being in heaven. Going to Doris's house is like being in heaven.
it's the main floor looks out over the woods, and it's a walkout basement, so it looks like you're in a tree house.
Wow. That sounds so cool.
Heaven with beads.
So are you going to teach any classes at your house, or just through Zoom or a garage sale, or?
Well, I did put an ad in the last newsletter, but not very many people came out to go shopping. But because I bought another estate in December, so I've had really good stuff. And that's also, a lot of that is on the website. And of course, we'll be at the Bead Bazaar in October with good stuff.
I must
But
not
yeah,
have
if you
read
want to
the
get
entire
together,
newsletter.
yeah, I don't have any classes planned, but if anybody wants me to teach something, you just need at least 3 or 4 people, and either you can come here or I can come to you.
So cool. Wow. So the Zoom class for your October, August 10th. Yeah, so you can register for that on on our website starting on Monday, I believe, right, Maggie? That our PayPal class registration button will be up on Monday.
It should be, yeah. We're just waiting on a PayPal glitch, which we can't seem to fix over the weekend. But I've got an under construction little note on the page. And so when that comes down and the little button that's on the page says PayPal, we'll be live, ready to go. So that'll be your clue.
And my website address is beadsbyd.com. And it's DEE.
Okay, we'll put it in the in the messages to everybody for who are watching beadsbyd.com. There's also a link on our Upper Midwest Bead Society website, and then on several of the posts for this event as well. They're also there too. So check out all of Doris's websites and check out UMBS for the classes, and sign up for her class August 10th. Yay! Thank you so much, Doris. You're wonderful. Welcome. And so I didn't get very far because my tension was horrible, so I started over. So I'm about 9 rows in, but really, really fun. I was using teacups.
Yeah.
Anybody else was using, but. And so, and now Hannah Rosner has got all kinds of things. So let's talk about some more fringe.
Well, let's talk about fringe. Hey, let me put on my there we go. So actually Rochelle and I are going to talk about fringe, and the first thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was how we design fringe. So actually, why don't you start with how you design fringe, Rochelle, and then I'll talk about how I design fringe, just basic. When I'm like, okay, here's a project and I'm going to add some fringe. I think everything needs fringe. So how do you go about it, Miss Rochelle?
I kind of think about my outfit. So I don't know if anybody saw today the earring I was wearing. And so I really am inspired by a color bead. So that's why I had on this beautiful blue, it's called Provence, suede gold Provence. It's a starman bead. And then I'm using these Icos. So I was inspired by color. And then since it's summer, I'm wearing my hair in one braid. I generally wanted to have something really nice and long. So I have an outfit in mind generally when I'm trying to, or a color. So I think of that when I'm trying to do something. What about you? What's your first inspiration, Hannah?
Well, when I do a project, so here's one I'm working on right now. It's not quite finished. This is probably going to be on a purse, but I'm not sure yet. Here, let's move it this way so that, there we go. You can see that fish that's happening. Can you see him there?
Oh yeah.
So when I deal with a project, I usually do the project first. So, you know, the without the fringe. And then, I don't know if you can see this little pile right here that I've got going on. Those are all the colors in the project. And of course, right before I had them all separated out, and right before I went online here with you, I managed to dump them all over the place. So I haven't straightened them out yet, but so I've got just sort of a mess of color there. And then what I do is I'll go ahead and I'll go into my bead stash and I'll just pull everything that I think might fit and match. Just everything. There it all is. Oh, there's some huge crystals. And there's some blue pearls and some leftovers from projects. I love leftovers from projects. This one, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 left over from another project that kind of matched.
Big bag of bead mix.
Right. And here's some check. It's sort of like going shopping in my own leftovers. And that's what my fringe is always made out of. It's always made out of leftovers. So I really like these. These are really cool. I have no idea where I got them, but I really think those are interesting and neat. They're drops for the bottom and they kind of match the color. So I just pull everything out and then I decide, okay, well, what am I missing? In this case, I'm not really missing much of anything. I have some size 11s that are the background on this one that I haven't put into this mix, but I'll use those. These are 15s. I don't really have any 8s. So then I get to go shopping. That's my favorite part. And that's really how I start to design my fringe is I'll go ahead and I'll just decide what I've got in stock, use up all my leftovers, and then start doing my shopping from there. And then it's time to decide what kind of fringe I want to make. And I'm going to come over here and I think share just the basic fringe, and everything kind of stems off of that basic fringe for me. So let me see whether or not I can figure out.
Share it too if you want to. I have your.
Say that again.
I can share it for you if you want me to. Your PDF.
I think I already have it. Let me try because I should learn. So let's see if I can learn how to do this. There it is. Okay. So my basic fringe is right here. And did that work?
It sure did.
Yay! All right. So basically what I do is I usually use bigger beads at the bottom and smaller at the top. And most of my straight fringes, I like using odd numbers on almost all my fringe. So I'll do, 3 to 15 to 30 beads. And what I have found is that in that first set of seed beads, 11s work pretty well, but size 15s if you do size 15s in this top section, they have a tendency to tangle. I don't know if you guys can hear all the noise in the background. Is there background noise for you guys?
Just a little bit, not much.
Those are my goats. If you hear background, it sounds like a baby crying. Those are my goats, and they have decided that they do not want to be weaned off of milk. So they're hollering at me. So if you're wondering what that is, that's what's going on back there.
I love it. That's adorable.
They are really cute. Anyway, so I use size 11 or 8s because my fringes get pretty heavy, and I found that size 15s tangle pretty badly. They won't lay straight down. And then from there, you'll see that I'll just go ahead and go up in size. And that's really how I arrange it. The simplest is maybe one size 8 or a 6, and then a 4 millimeter, and then a 6 millimeter. And maybe a larger, but I wouldn't go much larger than 8, because once again, if the bottom is too big for the top, then they have a tendency to tangle pretty badly. And then at the bottom, I can either take a little stop bead, and then I go up all of them, or I'll go ahead and make a little loop with 2 to 3 size 15s or 11s, and the drop, and then 2 to 3 size 15s or 11s, and then up through the larger and all the way to the top. I like to use a double thread of the 1G for this. And what I'll go ahead and do is, let's see if I can see this. Can we turn this one on now? Let's see.
If you want it to be bigger, you have to stop screen sharing.
Okay, I'm going to try that in a second. Just how do I stop?
But we can
here it
see
is.
your bead tray on the right, and then your
okay.
screen
So is this working out there? So I like
Yep.
the 1G, and I like a double thread of that for the straight. And once again, I don't have a tendency to use wax on mine. I like the 1G by itself, but I do always pull it out and stretch it first. Unless I happen to be using this bigger stuff, I don't have a tendency to have to stretch this. And my fringe tends to be heavier than Rochelle's. Rochelle has a tendency to use, it looks like you use longer fringe, but you don't use big chunky beads as much at the bottom, do you?
Yes, I only just began to do them, and then I realized how heavy they are, and I'm comfortable with heavy, but a lot of people aren't. So that's why I'm trying to also sell my earrings. And in our store, Bobby Bead, and at my friend's hair salon, Rolan's. And so I find that for the general public, they can't wear such heavy things. So they'd like a little shorter version. So I do one longer version for me and a shorter version for the public.
Right. And you also use the smaller beads. Mine tend to be, I don't do as many.
A lot of Icos.
What's that?
A lot of Icos and demis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the rounds. So she and I do very different things. And if you take a look, this one is going to be one of the next things I show you, which is the peyote stitch fringe. But look at all those heavy beads that I have in this thing.
Holy moly. How much does that weigh?
Probably 13 pounds. No, I'm kidding. This is not an earring. It's just a tassel. And I don't do as many earrings. You really have to be careful about fringe for earrings being too heavy. But you can see that this is a significantly heavier piece. And I wouldn't do something like this for an earring. So.
But a nice long lariat, I mean, that would be really stylish.
I think it would be great as a lariat. Absolutely. And you know, it really, but this one, what this actually started out as a lampwork bead. Can you see it there in the middle, that big old lampwork bead?
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
And then I just started putting fringe on it. Let me go find one of those beads real quick. I didn't bring that right here, so you can see what the bead looks like without the fringe on it. So hang tight for just a second. But I was
you're-
just trying to make a big old tassel. So hang
You're
tight.
inspired by your lamp work. I could see, because I've been inspired. I've used a lot of Hannah's lamp work beads in different designs.
I do use a lot of lamp work, and I try to make designs that I can use in lamp work. Can you hear me all the way over here?
Oh, sure.
So anyway, this is basically what the beads look like, and you can see that they've got a little area here that I can use for the peyote stitch here and here to hold everything in place. So that's what the
You
beads look
purposely
like.
make those lamp work beads in order to peyote around.
Yes, I did that on purpose because I wanted to do this design for. So the next thing up is this peyote stitch fringe. And I think that the peyote stitch fringe for me is the fringe that I use the most out of everything. So can you see it right there?
It's a
Let's
little
see if I
dark.
can.
There you go. That's better.
Yeah, so there's peyote stitch fringe, and let me show you some more. So here's some straight fringe with some of those twisted that who was talking about this? Was this Maggie who was talking about loving the twisted?
Mm-hmm.
So, but here's some peyote stitch fringe at the bottom of this piece. So this is
Yes,
the piece
that was me. That was me who loves the twisted bugle beads.
I love them too.
I don't think
So-
I've ever used a straight one.
I don't use straight ones very often. No. So this one was, so this is a collar with some peyote stitch fringe at the bottom and some straight fringe up here. And then one more. This one is actually missing a stone, but here was my very first Toho challenge piece.
Wow.
See,
I
you can see
remember
it's missing a stone right there. But there's my very first challenge piece, and it's got peyote fringe all over it. So let's talk about the peyote fringe next, which what I'll do is I'll show you in my diagram, and then I'll show you how I do it. So, okay. So I'm going to share screen again. There we go. We'll skip the twisted for right now and the leafy and go directly to the peyote fringe here. So can you see what's going on? It's right there. It's super easy.
Yeah.
Basically, it is a little bit of peyote stitch. I start by adding those green beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I like an odd number. And then my drop beads, whatever I'm going to do at the bottom, my fancy pants stuff, and a stop bead or a loop. And then I will go up through that first green bead because I like that to sort of look like a little finished piece on it. And then I'll peyote stitch my way up. And because it's an odd number, I end up with one at the bottom and one at the top. And I really like Fireline for this. I like it because I can pull it really tight and because these have a tendency for me to be super heavy. So the Fireline doesn't really stretch. And also I tend to use an awful lot of crystals. So I'm going to leave that for a second while I go ahead and thread up a little bit of thread, and I'll show you a basic peyote stitch fringe. Oh, I can't find my my good glasses, so I'm working on 2 sets of glasses here. There.
And just so you know, all of this is downloadable from the UMBS website homepage, showing, Hannah's projects that she's showing us today. So you can go to the website and click on the download and get those patterns for free.
Right. Yes. All right, so I have to stop sharing, right? Okay. And I think I'm going to put this little pile away real quick because I just have a piece of the lacy stiff stuff here that I'm just going to put a fringe on the bottom. We're going to pretend like it's a little project. There we go. I'm just going to knot it in place. I have a tendency to knot each one of my fringes whenever I do them because fringes get an awful lot of abuse. So I knot at the beginning and the end because then if you break one fringe, you don't break the whole thing. It doesn't just all undo. You only lose one instead of, 300.
So is just a half hitch good enough?
Yes. And one, I do one at the beginning and one at the end always. So I've got a larger needle here, so I'm going to use size 8s, which will make it easier for you to see anyway. There we go. So 2, 4, 6, 7, we'll call it 9. And then whatever I feel like putting on the bottom, we're just going to put this guy and one of these. I think I'll put another one of those, and let's do a little demi as the stop bead. See how that looks. So see what I got there? Let's go ahead and put some white behind that so you can see it. There we go. So is that in focus for you guys? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go skip the stop bead, go up through whatever my pretty beads are. Oh, this is a little dark. I wonder if we can move this around and make it a little less dark.
That's a little better.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have a brand new puppy. In addition to goats, we have a brand new puppy. And he's not really brand new because he's 10 months old, but we rescued him and he is a spaz. And he broke my my OT lamp. So I'm working with this kind of yellow cast one. So once again, I've gone up through my pretty beads. And I've gone up through one of the main beads. And then I just add a bead, go through a bead all the way to the top, just basic peyote. There it is. Okay. One. I love the peyote fringe because it adds a lot of chunk. I really like chunky fringe. I do.
Well, I have to get more free then and just go, I don't care how heavy it is. Let's just use it as a tassel around your neck instead of an earring.
Right. Yeah, you have to be really careful with the earrings, but you don't have to be as, there it is. So can you see that? That's my,
yeah.
So there's my peyote stitch. And once again, I'll do another little half hitch at the top here. Because once again, if it breaks, then I only lose the one. I don't lose the whole. Now, one thing that's really important is when I'm doing a piece of jewelry that has a lot of fringe on it, like this one. You can see there's fringe here, and then there's fringe here, and then there's fringe here. I always start from the center. I actually knot my thread right here at the center and do the center fringe first and then do each side. So that as I run out of beads, because you can see these fringes are not all the same. As I run out of fringe, I don't run out of the beads on one side and be like, oh, I have to do the other side. And now what am I going to do?
So you start this and work your way out both sides so that you're symmetrically and you're angled the way you want it to be. And
Exactly. And I also actually tend to use 2 different bead trays. So I'll divide the beads in half, one for one side and for the right side and one for the left side. So and I'll do that before I start.
that's a really good tip. Otherwise you're counting beads going, wait a minute, how many do I have left? No,
Yeah.
I'm
So
missing 2 beads.
if I go ahead and now I don't do all my fringe at once too. So I also put a little sticker on each tray, one that says R for right side and one that says L for left side. So it really makes it easier for me. All right. So once again, that's the peyote stitch. I think fringe is the fringe I think I use the most out of all of them. I really do. So the other kind of fringe that I have a tendency to do is the spiral fringe and the leafy fringe. But before I get into that, I want to show you something at the very beginning. I don't know, had we turned on the camera when we talked about how boring fringe is when it's just one type and one color?
No, that was before we started the show. Yeah.
Well, I don't use twisted fringe an awful lot because I think it's kind of boring because it tends to use one color and one type of bead. But I want to show it to you because a lot of antique purses use it. And so it's really fun and interesting to do. And so this is not spiral fringe. This is twisted fringe. So you can see it right there. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Basically, it is 2 rows. I'm going to untwist it here. It's 2 rows of fringe. And it really only works if they're a single type. They can be different colors, but a single type. So you could do this with size 15s. You could do this with 11s. It would get pretty hefty if it was with 8s, but I bet you could do it really nicely with Icos or treasures.
Mm-hmm. Or demis. That'd be really cool because they're so tiny little guys.
That would be, yeah, and it would use up. Now this uses a lot of beads too. A lot of these fringes do, but especially with two full rows. So the basics of twisted fringe are that you actually have to have a thread that has a good twist to it. I really like the 1G for it. The Nymo would work. Is it Nemo or Nymo?
I say Nymo, but depends what part of the country you're in. What do you guys all say? Isn't Nemo the fish, Finding Nemo?
I was about to make a joke about that. I was about to say if it's orange with black, then it's got to be Nemo.
Exactly.
Hannah, I have to tell you, your mother is on Facebook watching you.
Hi, Mom.
Yay.
So anyway, the twisted fringe relies on I don't know if you heard that. That was Sean yelling. He's got some flies in his shop. He's yelling at them. So it relies on a type of thread that actually twists. And so the Nymo or the 1G, and I'm using a double thread. It does not work well with the fire line. So you don't want to do this with the fire line. And once again, I'm going to go
thread, or does it have to be double?
I like it better with double because it gives it a little more body and it also makes the twist hold better.
Okay, I just gotta double my thread then. Sorry, I didn't.
Okay, not a problem. I don't think I have it in the directions about doubling the thread. I apologize on that, but I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share the screen again and show you the twisted fringe. So we'll go back up here to page 2. And basically what you do is you string your full amount of of beads. And this includes the first side, say 20, or if you're into odd number like I am, 21. I think I have 31 in the one I'm showing you. This one works better with longer fringe than shorter, so I wouldn't go much shorter than about 20 beads. And that's another reason maybe to use a double thread. And what you do is you string all the beads for one side, the bottom beads, you go up through the bottom beads, and then you string all the beads for the second side. And then I find it easier to go ahead and let it hang over the side of a table. And if it isn't a double thread, then waxing will help you keep that needle in place. Otherwise, it might just fall right off. You hold it close to the seed beads, and with your fingers, you'll see me do this in a few moments. You start twisting, and you want to always twist in one direction. Otherwise, I have a tendency to always twist to the right because it's more comfortable for me. If you're left-handed, I bet that twisting to the left will be more comfortable. But you twist and you twist and you twist and you twist and you twist until it gets all sort of, it'll start to really look messy. And when it starts to look messy, then you let the whole thing spiral around itself.
So you twist after you've got all your beads strung. You put the first side, then you go down, you put your stopper beads down on, you come back up, do your second side.
And then we're going to twist. And I'll show you this in a minute. While I'm talking you through this, I'm actually just
on my beads so that I'm where you're at. Okay.
Right. So hang tight for just a second. I'm going to load on my beads. Then what you're going to do is do the bottom, do the other side, and then you're going to do the twist. So I'm going to turn this off again. And I'll show you what I've done so far. I've only added the beads for one side. So you'll see me do the rest of it in person. Okay. So you can see here, I've added beads for one side. So, and I don't know how many that I've added. So let me find out. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 16. I've added 26. I had 27 because I like that odd number. There we go. And then whatever I'm going to put on the bottom, let's see, I'll put one of these and one of these and one of these and one of those. It's important to always remember how many you've got, especially if you're going to vary the sizes. So you might want to write that down. Let's see, we'll do a little stop bead at the bottom here. There we go. I had 27. I'm going to come up through. And then I usually come up through, I like to come up through the first. So I added 27. That means that on the second side, I'm going to add 26 because I've come up through that first one right there. You see it? Oh, I'm almost off screen. There we go. So 26.
Okay.
So. Hi, honey, I'm live online here right now. So just so you know.
Hi, Sean.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. Everybody loved your demo 2 weeks ago. They're still talking about it.
Oh, good.
So, I had to put my other glasses on, guys, because once again, I can't find my good ones. That was, the camera just got hit by Chewy. He's our new puppy. So I'm sorry, it moved there a minute. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, 20, 1. There we go. There we are. Oops. Actually, I want to go through that top one, so I'm only going to add the 25 there. So, because that'll help keep it in place. So once again, I have 27 on this side. I went through the 27th, again, going up, added 25 because I'm going to go through that top one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or did it get confusing? All right. Now, generally I do this over the side of the table, but you can't see the side of the table. So instead, I'm just going to do it right here. I just start to twist. I start to twist. Whoa, I'm sorry about that.
Before you go
Oh.
through the top one, you twist. Okay.
Yes. Before you go through the top one, you're going to twist and twist and twist and twist and twist. And can you see how it's starting to get a little bit chunky looking? You see it's no longer holding, and look at that. See it how it twists up? No, my hands are in the way. You can't see that. Let me see if I can find a way to do this so that. See that?
There you go. Okay, I see.
And because I've got all this twist, see that twist going on there? Because I've twisted, it's just twists right up. And then I go through the top bead and then I knot it in place immediately. There we go. There we go. So there's my fringes. Now you can actually manipulate it a little bit more if you want. There we go. But you want to manipulate it and then go ahead and knot it in place. And once again, this is not my favorite because these all have to be one single. I like chunky, like fringe with a lot of variety and in size and shape and texture. And this does not have a lot of variety in terms of size and shape and texture, but you can vary the color. Okay.
So yeah, I think it would be cool with, yeah, the different textures. I totally get how that would be fancier.
Mm-hmm. So there it is. All right. All right. So there are two other types that I want to show you, but I think I'm going to actually ask Rochelle, why don't we talk about your fringe first? Because I want to get a little drink of water.
I love it. You're so cute. I totally get it. So here we go. Let's, I'm not sure if you can see this, but this is my peyote fringe earrings. And so I didn't peyote every single solitary part. I only peyoted randomly. So I did a pattern of like, I do things in odd beads as well. And so I did 7 dark brown. And then if you do 3 beads of one color, when you switch, that way, when you come back to peyote, you stick the, you can do a peyote and it turns out to be a little cross. So in between your patterns, then you can just get these little crosses of the design when you do a 3 beads. So do like 9 and then 3 of a color and then 9 and then 3 of a color. And that way you can just, when you go back up, after you go down, you do your pattern. When you go back up, you only peyote where there's that 3 bead color pattern. And so that way you can really just accent and give depth and dimension to, you know, this is just obviously an earring. So we're going a little delicate. And so just a little peyote does go a long way, I think. So don't think that you have to do everything under the sun in one thing. I did do this one here and I peyoted, but it's all the same color. So it's more of a textural thing. But so if you don't change the color when you're doing your original pattern in your fringe, it's harder to tell sometimes where you might want it. You have to do a lot more counting. This way, if you did it from the very beginning, then it's easier with the 3 bead count to do your little fringe. So it's really fun. I also want to talk about the mixed media fringe. And so here I added my, just the same way that Hannah did, where I have ultra suede. And so I did my brick stitch on the very top. So she was using the lacy stiff stuff, but you could also do ultra suede. So I just attached the ultra suede to the bottom of my project, which was just a simple brick stitch decrease diamond. And then I started all the fringe right on top of it. So I came down from the brick stitch, but I secured myself to the suede. And that way it's a lot stable, and you can lock each fringe in place when you're using an ultra suede, just like you're using your, and that way you can also get a lot of mixed media in your fringe. So if you have ultra suede fringes beside your normal fringes. And so once again, all I did is peyote super randomly. So I have a whole bunch of Icos, and then I just did 1 bead. So that way, right before my large bugle. And so I did a peyote spot in between my spirally bugles. And so you get a really nice accent, and it pokes out. So it's a completely separate color, obviously. 2 turquoise beads in the middle, a bunch of bronze beads. So a little tiny bit really goes a long way. And that's what's so much fun about working small, obviously, versus big. Every little tiny bead does count in my book.
Hey, Rochelle, can you show the back one more time?
I sure can. And so like I did the initial, because you start with the ladder stitch in your brick triangle, and then you brick stitch decrease all the way up. So then I used my tail thread and sewed on the ultra suede. And I didn't splice my ultra suede right away. I left it about a 1/2 inch before I started to make my fringy splices in my ultra suede. So it's completely flat on the very top part. And then I
Very
just
pretty.
angled the taper. So it is a really, really long one. It goes way down. So it's past your shoulder. But it's up to you kind of how long you want to do something. So and that's why
This is-
I again start in the center. I did my longest fringe first, and then I tapered my way up to each edge.
This is a brilliant way to add a lot of length and texture without adding a lot of weight, because the ultra suede is really light. That's a really great idea.
It really, really is. So I've been having a lot of fun with the mixed media in my fringes. And so, yeah. So that's a part of my designing in between Hannah's tutorial. Or do you want me to continue? Are you back ready, Hannah? To do your leaf fringe? Or what's next? You're muted, Hannah. Somebody's muted.
Oops.
There you
Sorry
go.
about that. So anyway, yeah, why don't you do the demi fringe? I'm dying to see it.
And so, so I'm not sure which demi fringe. There's so much fringe. Oh my God. There's just like a bunch of fun different things to do. So here.
Let's do the one that you have the, let's start with the one that you have the PDF on that you sent people.
Okay, so the fun little brick stitch fringe, it has Icos, it has demis. Let's put it right here. make, there we go, right in the center. And so it is a really fun little stitch, and you use a 6/0 demi right at the top in order to hang onto your ear wire. And this is the essential glass jump ring. Basically, it comes in your seed bead colors. So we're using the 6/0 demi right on the top here, and it'll fit on your ear wire, it'll fit on jump rings. And then down on the bottom here, check it out. It is the same 6/0 demi that we have used on the bottom, but what it looks like is a little floret on the bottom, because what we're doing is doing a brick stitch, a single brick. And I've got icos here around my demi. And if you do a floret of 9 icos, since the icos are so perfect, it always is 9. And if you want to use a round, you can totally use a round, but you'll generally only get 8 rounds around your little demi, because they, you know, it's a donut shaped bead. The sides are not straight. So it sticks out a little bit more. And that way you can have a really fun accent color in the center because you're using your demi. And then you brick stitch. So the thread on your brick stitch acts like your grout in your tile. So the thread really, really matters here. And so if you want to not have the thread show, I used like a sand ash color thread on this bronze demi. And that way it kind of blends into the demi. And then here I wanted to give a color pop. I only had turquoise beads, and then I had these like silver beads. So what I did is I changed my thread color. This is orange thread. Oh, I guess it's a little close. There we go. And so I did the orange thread for the demi, and that way it basically has a beautiful color pop on each one of those little guys. Stop moving. There you go. And so it really matters what you're going to do. On this one right here, I used a purple thread because I've got silver beads and I've got purple, these little rounds. So the purple thread then gives a really beautiful accent. And it really matters what you're going to do. And so that way we want to really highlight your thing. And so this here is silver. So I used a black thread because I've got black seed beads in between. And so this again is part of that brick stitch pattern. And then instead of adding the suede on this one, I just tapered down the colors. So I was trying to create the little demi circles on the bottom to continue part of sort of the eye in the pattern, where on this one here it's more of an accent on the bottom versus totally part of the pattern. So depending on the colors you're using, but I did use what color thread on this one? I used the orange thread again on this one here. So the demi bead underneath is hardly recognizable. And so it's a matte green bead underneath there actually. So when you put the orange thread over the matte green, you can hardly see it. But these demis are just so beautiful. So we'll show you real quick how I did it. And we do have the PDF. I'm not sure if everybody saw. So where is my screen?
And again, that's all on the umbs.org website on the homepage, located in Rochelle's section for today.
Yeah. So let's
Downloadable for free.
downloadable for free. So let's try now. There it is. So here is the pattern, and it's really fun and easy, simple to do. This is a really short version that I made into a tassel. And so they make really cute tassels. And the 6/0 demi is your top bead. So what I did is I tied for each strand, it takes about 2 feet of thread for each sort of tassel. And so because you're going around and around and around, you do use a lot of thread. So I just tend to keep a long tail or bead off of my bobbin. That way, if you decide to make them longer or to make more, then you can use your tail thread for more if you want to. So just tie a little knot on your thread around the 6/0 demi bead. And this is generally the only knot I do because it's just going to keep it secure. And then add a focal bead on the top. And then I added my part of my fringe. So here I added just a bunch of demis, or icos, I mean. And then right in the center, I have a gold accent bead so that your eye is drawn just to the center, and it helps you to count as well. So you've got 5 normal beads and then an accent bead and then 3 more. So then add a demi, 6/0 demi, and then this is a brick stitch. So this is the bottom of your fringe. We're going to go back up the very last ICO or last round that you used. And then we are going to add one more just like you added. So if you add the same size beads all the way around the bottom here, it'll lay nice and it'll look like a nice floral. So whatever size bead you use last, use that to go around the whole thing. So add a bead, loop around the demi, come back out the bead you just added. So the thread will jump from the top of one bead to the top of the next bead. And then you're going to do that all the way around. Add another one and then go around your demi and come up through the beads you just added. And just pull it tight enough so that the bead sits right next to its neighbor, and then the holes, stick out. So you do see the thread as you jump here, and you see the thread across the demi. So that's why you can tell if you've missed something, or you can tell if you've gone through something too many times. It's super visible. So that's why your thread, it really matters. At the very end, you are going to just pass through the very first bead or last bead in your fringe, whichever you call it, and then wrap around your demi. And then we're going to go all the way back up to the top again. So we'll stop sharing that, and then we'll show you how to do it in person, because it's pretty darn much the same. So I took my 6/0 demi bead here and I tied a knot to it. All right, where's my focal point? Sorry. And then I've added on all my extra accoutrement beads. No, I can't. I find my. So then I'm adding on my 6/0. Oh, this is an 8mm round, and then I'm adding on another giant demi just so that it has a little accent in between, right in front. There we go. And then I've added on a whole bunch of icos. And then right in the center, I did a demi, a fire polish, and a demi. So that's where your accent is, right in the middle. So at the very end, we added another demi. There we go. And then I'm going to pass through that demi. Here we go. Let's get our camera right. Come on, focus. And so you came right up through the very last ICO that you went through. Add the demi, pass around. So the very first couple are kind of a little harder because you must hold this little tiny bead in place. So generally I wrap the thread around my first finger and hold it between my second finger and work away from myself. So I'm going to add the next bead that I want around, and you can change the colors but keep the same size bead. So the very first one is the hardest, and my fingernail is going to be in the way while I pass through here. And so you can always pull it tighter. So don't worry about that. Just make sure that it jumps from the top of the thread to the top of the thread. So let's just, of course, I'm on the screen, so it's gonna fumble me up here. Okay, so if you hold it like that, so that your thread will come up from the bottom, because you just came around your demi, and now you will come here. You were in focus a second ago. I know you were. There we go. So we'll pull you closer. So now you're right there. So there's two of them right next to each other. And then we're going to go 9 all the way around. So I'm just going to pinch it, wrap my thread around. And if it's too loose on your thread, just hold your demi and pull. That way it'll tighten right back up again and get a little bit closer. And so we're going to add our second one. And so we're going to change colors. So you go through the demi, and I usually just hold that bead right in place while you pull your thread, and then come up from the bottom. And normally, and so now we've got 3. So we're going to go all the way around, and we're going to do 9 of those. So that's why I said it does take a little bit of thread, and it takes just a little bit of time, but it adds such a cute little accent on the bottom when you're done. And so just hold it just like that, and then you'll pull, and it's going to go right around. So halfway around, I turn it so that I can then easily manipulate what I'm doing and hold my thread right there. I've got the fringe over here, and then I've held that in place. That way we've got our tension nicely locked, and then you can manipulate your thread and work yourself all the way around. And so really holding your work properly and just shifting it, and then I hold my thread, because you don't want to splice your thread when you're doing brick stitch. Even if we're wrapping around the bead, you just really do not want to splice your thread. You can't undo it. And if you pull too tight, these little guys are going to curl all up on the top. So you don't want that to happen either. You want them to stay fanned out. So usually I pinch them with my finger while I then twist it around. That way they'll hold nice and straight. So this is a medium to loose tension stitch. Don't worry about the tension right as you go. Adjust each one when it's done, and that way you can work your way around. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 7. Okay, so I have this space left. So yep, there's totally room for 9 here. And so we're gonna hold it right there.
What I love about this the most is the fact that you're using the color of the thread as a design element. You can see it on the 6 demi, and also at the edges. It's so pretty.
You really can. And that way it's just like when you're working with cubic right angle weave, any right angle weave, you do see the thread, but when you're working with demis, you see the thread even more because they're so darn skinny. You can't hide it like you can with a normal round bead. And so if your needle comes off your thread, lay your work down on your mat just like it is so that you don't get it, and then manipulate and put your needle back on, because fringe can get tangled and get messy. So if you have if you can just lay it down and then pick it up proper if you have to set it down. Otherwise I tend not to set down my fringe while I'm working on it, just so I know it's not going to flip over, flip around, etc. So this is the very last one. So I'm going up the last fringe ICO or brick stitch ICO, sorry. Now we're going to go down through the center one. So this one will wrap around the 6/0 demi one more time. And then now I'm going to pinch the flower and we're going to go all the way back up to the top. And that way it's sealed in. I've used a single thread here because my fringe is a little shorter and I wanted to make a whole bunch of them. And so when you're going through like a fire polish bead on the top here, all of these have, I believe, 6 fringe with the little brick stitch on the bottom. But the problem you have is the space in your focal bead on the top. You can only go through this bead pretty much 14 times with a size 11 needle and a size D thread. Otherwise you have to go down to a size 12 needle and I hate to do that. So pretty much that's why I'm using a single thread, is because of how many times I need to go through the top of this, because each time we're now going to go through the top again and wrap around that demi and then start our next fringe. So when you are not using leather or not using your stiff backing to attach your fringe onto something, it's harder to tie off with each fringe. And so this way, if you go back up and then wrap around the demi here, you could wrap around twice if you want, or you could tie off to your tail thread if you were really worried about it. If they were really long, you can just easily tie off to the tail thread, and then that fringe would be tied and it would be all set and ready to go. And now it's ready for you to do it again. And so then you would add the same amount of beads or longer. Maybe you want to do it longer because each one of these fringe, you could easily see there's 6 of them here. And what I did was the same pattern. I just did it longer and longer so that it graduated down. And sometimes you do a vertical pattern so that it's all the same. Other time here, I did longer, longer, longer. So then it also drew the eye down. But I tried to just have one bronze bead in the middle of my turquoise on the bottom there, just to give a bottom accent. And see, the new one I did here has 2 bronze on the top, turquoise all the way on the bottom. So it's really funny how one bead in your pattern is going to change the pattern. See how this, it makes it look like kind of a long linear bronze line all the way around. If you change the pattern of that and don't do that bronze on the bottom, then your flower is going to look completely different. Your pattern is going to look different. So it's kind of funny how it really can change it all. But it's super different depending on how you want to do your thing. So each one, like I said, this one I did with orange thread and added a teacup down on the bottom. This one here, I added teacups in the middle. And so this is with the round beads, and round beads obviously lay different than cylinder beads do. This one has demis mixed in it in the patterns, so it looks very organic. And I did pull a little bit tighter. I went through these a second time and just went around the center and then went back up again so that they would be stiffer. And it's on these symbols findings is what I made this one. So this is one of those symbols findings. And I just wove through the finding, back down, and did the other side. Wove through the finding, back down the other side. So I just used a stopper bead at the beginning for that one. but it really makes a difference how many times you go through your fringe. If you only go through your fringe once, it might not be as stiff. If you wax your thread, it'll go through and it'll be, stiffer as well. If your fringes won't lay very straight, like they're a little tight, that's the plus of using thread. The nylon thread is stretchy. So all you have to do is hold the top, pull the bottom, and now look at how the fringe just stays all nice and straight again. Where this one here, partly because it has teacups, but partly because it has Fireline, if you use Fireline, it's going to be more wavy because there's less stretch, and you can pull and pull and pull, and it's not going to unkink. There's no stretch to Fireline, but you can do it and it's nice and stiff. And so that's the super fun of it. And so the demi, when you use it at the top, it's just the perfect little jump ring. And you can also use them as spacers right here. See, underneath the round, it's got, and that way they all kind of go up into there. And so here I did do a little peyote right at the top. And so that gives this really clumpy texture at the top. And that gives me more spaces to add more fringe. And so if I wanted to, but it just gives texture. So you can brick stitch around anything you want to. There's no rhyme or reason. But the demi is so perfect because you don't really need to have an accent bead if you don't have to. But if you want to brick stitch around anything you want to, it's really, really fun and super simple, easy. These are some of the new shape findings that I got from Dakota Stones. And so they just have these little ovals, and that's all they are, is just a simple little oval. It's a metal ring, about 3/4 of an inch by maybe 1/8 of an inch wide. So I did the exact same thing that we did here on the stopper. I did the top and tied it to my thread, and I used a blue thread on this one because, see, it's a silver oval, and I used the silver perma finish. But when you're going over the silver and the blue thread, it gives a great accent. I did an ombre of colors, but it just is simple. Or they have the triangle ones, and talk about the same color. This is all just the gold perma finish. So, and then there's an accent of an 8/0, like a gold luster. So this is all size 11 rounds on the triangles, and this is a demi on the oval. If you want to get a little crazy, you can do that too. So if you just do your plain oval, that's what this is. So that's exactly what I did here. I just did my, this is once again the symbols findings up here, and this is a double, just a curve. And so I've just used a normal post with a loop, and on one side of my fringe, I did this cute brick stitch. And then after you do the oval, you come back up through the center and just do this straight line. And I did brick, it's got, what do you call them? They're not fire polish, they're bicone crystals, sorry. And so on the very bottom, I did my stopper on the bottom, and then came up in the center, went through the center bead, and then came up there. So it's really a fun little component. You could use any solid jump ring that's soldered. You just can't use anything that's openable. So that's why the bigger shapes are really fun. But the little demi is just cute and adorably and darling and that kind of fun thing. But we really like, so if you want, the only difference when you're working with the triangle is you have these points, and where the oval you can just go around and around and around. The triangle is a little bit more difficult because you need to lock yourself right into that corner. And so there's just one little more bead strand here on the corner of thread where you can lock yourself in. So I'll show you an easy way with these triangles or any shape that might be not round. So you do your same, you tie your knot onto your 6/0 demi, and I've left myself a really long tail so that I could weave in my tail. I added on my accent beads, and then here's your fun little triangle. And so all I do is loop myself around the point of the triangle, and I'm going to go all the way back to the top the first time just to get this locked into place on my triangle. So that way, otherwise you really have to keep messing with your tension. And so you're not going up and down too many times through this bead. We're not going to do 16 fringes like on the other one. So it's not that big of a deal. But if you just go back to the top, go around that 6/0 demi, and then go back to the bottom, that way your triangle is going to sit beautifully. And I always end or start with the beads I'm going to use, like I said, to go around. So I'm using Ico cylinder beads. So I used a 6/0 demi here just as an accent bead. And then I put a little tiny Ico right underneath it. So that's what we're going to do is we come down, and I'm going to pass through that single Ico again, wrap around my triangle, and then go back up. And then now that we've done it twice, it should lock it pretty close right at that top of the triangle. And so the first side here, we're going to go to the right. So if you hold it in your fingers, and then I always, once again, wrap the thread around my other fingers. The first one on anything is always the hardest, so you can shift this. So just don't panic. Just maneuver it after you're done. So don't worry about it. So I pass through the triangle and I hold my thread with my fingers so that I hold the bead on the correct side of the triangle, so that I always am going up through the bottom of the bead. You don't want the bead to flip or turn. And so this way, this bead is going to be the first one on the right side. And each time you work your way down the side of the triangle, triangles, flat corners, in the middle, they're easier, but on the corners, they're harder. So just have patience with yourself. And then see how it slid all the way down? Don't worry about it. Slide it back up. See, now it's all right in place. So they should just sit right next to each other. And that way you see the little blue thread over the triangle, and it matches and gives a really nice accent. And so it's not that like exciting as all those fun big beads. I know they're tiny little beads, but you can really give a nice accent with a small. So that's why I'm using silver beads and then these blue beads to match my thread. And I'm just doing an ombre again, just like I did. So once you get down here, you're going to just do that extra loop like your thread through the corner to get them to stay. If you want to put an extra fun bead on the corner to highlight that corner too, and then it kind of distracts your eye also from the thread. So you can hardly see. See, I've used orange thread with a gold bead on a gold finding. And once again, these findings came from Goody Beads. And so these just little ovals, and they come in gold, and they come in silver, and that's it. But the other findings, this one here on the top is another little symbols earring finding, and this one looks just like the gem duo. And so it has a hole goes across the bottom of it, and you can do it really easy for your earrings. And then this is another fun little symbols finding that we use here. I just think that they're really neat ideas of how to capture beads. Wait, there we go. And just simple. So these are 8mm rounds on top, but like I said, that's how many times you can go through it. And so that's kind of, but the more fringe, the better is what I kind of say, right? But on average, usually 6 fringe is kind of the maximum per thing. And so I wanted more than 6 fringe. It wasn't enough. So I found these symbols findings, and they're a post. So it's nice and sturdy, and then it has 2 little arms. So I made, I used on this one a jump ring to attach the demi to the top of it. So that way, because it wasn't. So the oval jump ring worked. And then these, I just did pearls in graduating sizes, and these are all Icos. And then I did one little demi right next to each pearl. So that way, when you have 5 fringe next to 5 fringe, then you've got 10 fringes. And because we really like fringe, 5 is just not enough. And so I have 3 holes in my ear, so I always wear 3. So this one is just a single. And then I attached it to these cute little tiara cast. Other ones, I got these, I think, at Goody Beads too. And it looks like the lotus flower. So that way you can just attach with a jump ring, if you don't have an openable earring wire. So that's how you attach the post to the top of the post. And that way, when you hang them all next to each other, they look really cool. And they all just have the tiny little demi on the bottom. And I use the silver PF558 demi and a blue bead, and then I use the blue thread. So even though you're using a cream bead for the main part, I use the blue thread. And so it really gave this nice little blue accent down on the bottom. And so varying them in lengths, you get the little flowers spread out through the whole thing. But it's very lightweight. And these little glass pearls are very lightweight too. So even some of them are 6mm. So that's why sometimes, using glass pearls versus stone, you can get away with really, really long. These are about 7 inches long. I mean, this is my hand. So, but yeah, these little symbols findings, if you have longer earrings, using the post is sometimes a lot sturdier than the ear wire. And so they come in all those different fun things, and that way you can do your multiples. And but yeah, I think it's just a really fun thing. You can put them in the middle if you want to. You could, they just take a long time, like I said, so have your patience mind set. But you would do half the circle. If you're going to do it in the middle, do half the circle, continue your fringe, come back up, and then you would do the other half, because you don't want to like go around and around and around and around and around in circles. Does that make any sense? Or sound like fun? I don't know.
It sounds really fun. I'm looking forward to trying it.
And
Love it, love it, love it. Love the use of symbols too, especially your earrings are so cool.
yeah, they're really neat. And so I'm finding so many fun ways to play with these findings that I hadn't even thought about when we initially got them. And so this also is a really nice, fun way to brick stitch fringe. This is actually a component. It came on the hairband. Toho Eco makes this. ICO is the company that the president's brother Hajime started. So it's for finished jewelry. So this is brick stitch with ICOs around a square frame. And so they did 3 levels. Remember when Jules was here a few months ago and she did the brick stitch around the hoops? And she did 3 levels. That's what this is 3 levels. And then on the bottom, they just did a few more brick stitches with adding some fire polish. And then they added the fringe on the bottom of the brick stitch. So just on one side of it. And on the bottom is just a little fire polish and then 2 ICOs. It's like a picot with ICOs. So if you change the colors when you're doing your fringe, then you get this really neat black, gray sort of arrow pointed shape with the fringe on the bottom. And so that's a really fun way to incorporate, and it's a bronze finding, and they used a like brass colored, like sand ash colored thread. So on the very edge, that's where you see your thread also. So it toned down these really pale, pale gray beads and gave it kind of a goldish tone. And so remember on your brick stitch, you're going to see all of your thread as well there. So it looked then, it tied the brass of the fixture into the edge of the bead. So that's where using your thread color to create something you might not have thought of is trying to match your finding and create a metalish edge on the edge of it. And so this is just held on with 2 jump rings to a hairband as well. So you probably could get away with something heavier by hanging it on your hair than from your ears. And so think about that too. Other than that,
I
does
love that.
anybody have
That's
any
gorgeous.
does anybody have any questions on brick stitch bead framing with dummies? And so,
I love those. Thank you so much.
yeah, we were just, it's fun with fringe. I mean, golly gee, right? And so, yeah, these are the ones we were looking at earlier. And so we've got the ginkgos on the top here, and we just did a cute little peyote with 4 ginkgos. And then I have the leather on the back of this one too. So I sewed the leather coming out of the ginkgos, and then have been doing some fun fringe. So if you add even more texture and dimension, and here instead of adding peyote, I just added a demi. So there's a regular round, an 8/0 demi, and a regular round. And that way you create the texture amongst as well in the pattern by adding that just a little bit bigger bead. And the demis are so skinny that you don't really, doesn't look as clunky. And then down again on the bottom, I did the little thing, the little floret with the brick stitch, and added 1 little demi before it. So that's where just adding 1 little shape bead in the middle can create your texture. And then adding a, since we didn't have the symbols findings when I first made these, I used the normal ginkgos. But now you could use a ginkgo finding if you wanted to. So you have your many options. So you could even start peyote with a symbols ginkgo finding, and then the ginkgos, and then work your way down in the fringe, whatever your imagination comes up with is the game, right? So what else do you got for us, Hannah?
Well, hold on, let me put on my, there we go. I've got two other kinds of fringe, and the first one is one that is based off of the coral fringe that you showed last month. Do you have a sample of that coral fringe hanging around there, Rochelle?
Let's see. The coral coil.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. It was attached, I think, to a bracelet last month. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I did. You mean this one?
I think so. Yeah. So it's the branch fringe. It's
Yeah,
also called
this is the
coral
branch fringe. Oh, yeah. It's
right. And we showed that. And then this is a variation really of that branch fringe called leaf fringe. And I want to show you that. And then I'm going to end by showing you my favorite fringe, which is the spiral fringe. So the coral fringe or the branch fringe takes up a ton of beads because you go all out at different directions. You go all over the place. And the same thing with the leaf fringe. I'm going to show you a piece that I've done, and I'm going to show you actually. Rochelle, will you take the shot of me, not this one, but the other one, and make that big for a second? Can you do that for me?
Which one?
The one I'm waving at right now. Of me. Yeah, well, I can.
Wait. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, I know if I hear it. Maybe
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I wanted that is and it doesn't come up automatically because I'm a little one, not this big one. So this is my hat from the, what was the name of this beautiful palette that you created, Rochelle?
That one's the Spectrum of Joy palette.
Right, and this was from last year, and the leaf fringe is right here. Let's see if we can get that. It's not focusing all that well on it, but you can probably get an idea of it. There it is. And on the other side also, you can see it right here. So this leaf fringe is the next thing I'm going to show you. And it takes a ton of beads, so many beads. So I'm going to show you first by sharing my screen. Let's see, where is it? There's the leafy fringe. Okay. And it is similar to the coral because it just goes all over the place. I like doing it in Fireline, but because I like to have that little bit of extra body to it. I know some people don't really dig Fireline. You can do it with the 1G or NYMO. I'm doing it actually, the sample I'm going to do for you today is going to use 1G because that's what I threaded up. So you basically come down. Let's see if my pointer, can you guys see my pointer?
Oh yeah,
Okay, so you come down and then you do the one side, and then down at the bottom, you do whatever you want to do. It's fancy. If you look over here, I've got the purples at the bottom. See that? So I've got a size 8 here and then some purple stuff going on. So I'll come and do these, and then I'll do the side, and then I'll do whatever I want to do that's fancy, and then come back up. So I've got 4 here on this side and 4 here on this side. I'll go back up here, and then I'll go some up and come out between 2 beads, and then just do it again.
Anna's iPhone and her share screen, but I don't see the other, what she's showing.
Well, do you see the screen share?
Yeah, the screen share, I actually.
Do you see the pattern, everyone?
Yeah, I see the pattern, but I wasn't sure if she was showing something on the side.
Not yet. She's just
Oh,
showing
okay.
her face at the moment. And
great.
so then
Right.
she'll literally show how to do it in a minute.
Yeah, usually what I do is I walk you through the pattern first, and then I'll show you in real life.
And so, but yeah, your other camera is turned off though. I just want you to know that, Hannah.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'll turn that on in just a second. But you can hear me okay, right?
We can hear you just fine. Your camera's turned off on the
Okay,
one
well,
that you're speaking, but we see your face even though you're speaking on a different one. It's okay.
Right. Okay. So anyway, this is what I'm going to show you next. Is I come down with some beads, I do one side, then I go ahead and do, sometimes I'll do something fancy at the bottom, sometimes I won't. If you look over here, you'll see that I've done a size 8. It's the same color, gold, and then I've done some purple, and then you come up the other side, and you go up some beads. That's it. That's how I count, is I go up some. Then I go ahead and I do it again. And I
But you
work,
do the same on each side, right? You go up the same amount or do you change the amount?
I'll change it a lot of times. I'll just sort of run up a couple of beads, 3 or 4 or 2 or 1 or whatever I happen to get, because the thing about leaves is that they're really not architectural. They're really they have all different shapes and sizes and colors. So this one is really one of those things that uses a ton of beads up, but it doesn't really have a lot of counting
Oh,
involved.
okay.
The
So they
only
don't
part
have
of
to be the
counting-
same on both sides.
They don't have to be. This part I do tend to do the same on both sides, but I don't go ahead and always go up 1, 2, 3, 4 beads before I come out.
Gotcha.
And maybe this bead is only 3 beads instead of 4. It's up to you. The thing that you do want to do is you always want to do the longest one first. So you'll see that as I'm going along. Okay. So now I'm going to turn my screen share off and go to my other camera and show you how I do this. Okay. So. Stop that video. Can you make the other one big?
You need to turn
This
it
one?
on first. It's hidden. You turned it
No,
off.
it says that it's there.
Um,
I'm waving under it right now.
I don't see it. That's the thing.
Okay. Let me
I see it when she's waving underneath it.
So let's see if I can make this one big. See if I can do it. So hang on. But
Double click on it.
Spotlight for everyone?
Double click on it. Here it is.
Oh, that didn't work for me.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait,
it did. There
continue
you go.
spotlight. There we go. There's a spotlight.
Oops, there's Upper Midwest. There we go. Are we good? Can you see me?
Yeah, we can
See
see
you.
you.
Great. All right. So here's what I've done. I've done some beads. There they are. You see them there?
Yeah.
And I did something at the bottom. It doesn't have to be big, but just to just to make sure that you see. And I've gone up through that first size 11. Can you see it there? So I'm coming out right above that first size 11.
Yeah.
Can I bring it up closer? Okay. And then I've strung some beads. I've decided to string 4. There it is. I'm going to skip the next 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and go through the 5th one. There it is. Okay. So there's my first little. There's my first little leaf. You see it there? Now I'm going to go up some beads. just like that. Oh, looks like I went up 3. And I'm going to make another fringe. So I'm going to add some beads. And once again, I don't have a tendency to count. I'm just going to add some. I'm going to take a minute and put my other glasses over these first ones so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. I know. I lost my good glasses the other day. Okay. So I've added some beads here. Whoops. I'll add one more. And now I'm going to add what I did at the bottom, which is a size 8 and a size 8 demi. And then a size 11 demi is the little stop bead. So there it is. I'm going to go up through. I'm going to skip the stop bead and go up through these fancy beads. And since I did do 4 beads on each side of this last this last leaf, I think I'll do 4 beads on this side too. So I'll add 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go through the 5th. And go back to the main stem. So there's the second one. Now I'm going to go up some beads. Once again, I don't have a tendency to count these. I just do some. Oop, this time it looks like I went up 4. And I do it again. And you can see where this is going to take up a lot of beads. Okay, that's how many I'm going to do. So I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. 1, 2. You can really see how with this one, how this looks an awful lot like that branched or coral fringe. But I'm just adding a little, whoop, I forgot the stop bead because I was talking instead of watching what I was doing. Let's do that again.
Well, you know, that happens to us all, right?
Right? There we go. All right, skip the stop bead, don't go through it. Go up through the fancy beads and through one of the size 11s. There it is. And we'll make this bead, you know, let's make this one a little bit smaller leaf because sometimes leaves get smaller and they get bigger. So this one, instead of 4, I've only added 3. I skip 1, 2, 3, go through the 4th, go all the way back to the main stem. There we go. And I think I'll do one more and then go to the top. So here's my fringe so far. Let's put it against the white so you can really see it. Okay. So I'm going to go up some beads. There they are. I'm going to do this one real quick. And this is going to be the last one. And I'm going to do my fancy beads, my stop bead. Go back, skip the stop bead, go back through the fancy beads and through one of the size 11s. Let's make this one 3 beads too, 3 beads as well. I'm going to go back to the main stem. There it is. And I think this is going to be the last one. So I'm going to go all the way back up to the top. There it is. Once again, the reason I'm using lacy stiff stuff, we're going to pretend like this is a piece that I'm fringing off the bottom, but I didn't have any pieces that I'm currently working on. So this is we're going to pretend that lacy stiff stuff is actually a project and not just a piece that I'm going to take apart later. So there's where what that looks like. So that is all that there is to that. Now, once again, I'm going to show you this on the hat. There it is. Whoop, sorry about that. That's a little wobbly. So can you see all that fringe? In this case, what I did was I actually started with some gold in the center as the main piece, and then the each of the leaves had a green, and then the gold again, and then the fancy purple on the bottom. I was trying to use as many of the colors from this particular colorway, garden colorway from last year as I possibly could.
Well, you made a pineapple lily. I don't know if you realized it, but that's exactly what a pineapple lily looks like.
Does it really?
Yep, I've been growing them in my yard. There's the second year. And so they have the nice green base, and then they have the light yellow little spriggets. And right in the center is this little purpley fuchsia kind of, what a stamen thingy. So, and
I
they
have
get
to look
little
them up now.
all the way down the thing. So yeah, you'll have to Google pineapple lily.
Yeah, I really, oh, that's exciting. That's fun. So that is the leaf one. And the final one I wanted to show you, unless there's questions about that leaf one.
Not on Zoom. I'm not sure about our Facebook friends, if everybody's still hanging out with us, coming and going or not, but
I know, we're all over the place.
but Zoom is certainly everybody is loving it. They're just enjoying beading away along with
good.
you.
Well, the last one I wanted to show you is my very favorite, which is this spiral fringe. And this spiral fringe, I started using an awful lot. I don't even know which year this was. I'm going to show you something on the big camera again. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this again. Let's see. Start video.
There you go. Now
Spotlight.
we see both
Okay,
of you.
so this was one of the challenges from a number of years ago. I don't remember which year, but this was, I think, the second year I did the challenge.
I think
and
2014 maybe.
I'm not sure. Yeah, but I wanted to do something besides a piece of jewelry. So that's why. And I had this basket and it was looking at me. It was looking at me all the time. So I had to do something with it. So what I have here is peyote fringe. There it is. And then all this craziness going on up here is spiral fringe. There it is. There's some spiral fringe and some spiral fringe and a dragonfly that Sean made, which has nothing to do with spiral fringe, but I just like showing his stuff off.
You're allowed to use one focal piece of your choice. So,
well, in this case, I actually, where did I use them? It was actually one of these, but after the fact, I ended up adding two more. So has a total of 3. And then I added this thing after I got it back. Yeah, I just kept on adding to it until I was out of room. But when I first made it, it just had the one dragonfly. So I'm going to show you how to do this spiral fringe because it's easy. And it is based off of the peyote stitch fringe, which is right here. We already talked about. Okay. Now I have the directions in the screen, in the screen share there, but I don't think I have pictures. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this live and then you can read it later. Let's see how I do that. See if I can unspotlight myself now. And then, oh, I want this one to spotlight. Oh, I'm learning slowly. Replace spotlight, maybe? Did that work? Oh, it worked. So once again, this is the one that I'm going to show you. Now, the one I'm going to show you here and right now is not going to spiral as much. This needs at least 30 beads in the base row for it to spiral nicely. I have 31 here because once again, I love those odd numbers. And the one that I've gone ahead and started, I think only has like 15 or so beads. So what I've threaded first is I've threaded my very smallest bead. And in this case, I'm using demis, size 11 demis. You could also go ahead and use 15s here, or you could start with 11 rounds and then go up from there. But each row that I do is going to be a larger bead. So the first thing I've got is I've got 15 demis. And they're threaded. And now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to purely stitch to the top using size 11 rounds. Oh, I like this one. I like to use Fireline for this one. So while I do this, somebody tell a story.
Let's see here. I've hatched 29 monarch butterflies so far. They are going like crazy, and we've hatched 13 swallowtail butterflies so far. So we've got, it's butterfly central. So hopefully we've got 3 more baby monarchs and 3 more little baby swallowtail caterpillars. So hopefully we'll have some more. I hope everybody else is enjoying their gardens too.
Oh yeah. What's the weather like there? Is it nice again?
88 and sunny. So a nice summer day. The store has lots of people in it, on and off all day. They've been here.
Oh, nice.
So Rochelle, where are you ordering your butterflies from?
I'm not ordering them. I am finding them in my garden. I plant milkweed.
Oh, so they're actually natural. Okay.
They're real butterflies. So yeah, we find the little eggs on our milkweed. I have hundreds and hundreds of milkweed plants. And then my neighbors have dill and parsley and carrots. And so they keep bringing me the swallowtail little guys because they eat, like I said, dill, parsley, or carrots. And I don't grow that, but they have children. So they can't really deal with baby caterpillars and kids, you know. So that's why we've been parenting everything. And then we found 4 horned pink hawk moths. So they're like prehistoric looking. They've been eating the grapevine. So they're kind of like little armadillo caterpillars, they get about 4 or 5 inches long. And then the moths are as big as your hand. And like have one pink dot on the bottom of each wing and little pink stripes on the body of them. So those guys take like a month though to pupate, but they dig in the dirt. They burrow down in the dirt. So that's kind of interesting.
Oh, the reason I was wondering, because I used to have a teacher friend and she used to do it for a class project, but I think she used to get them, you know, the little tenting type kit, and then you can watch the stages of the butterfly. So I was just curious.
Yeah, but I have thought of, because Hannah got a giant tomato hornworm, and she was gonna feed it to her other animals, but she decided to raise it. You can see behind her giant toad, or is it a frog?
She's a frog. I'm not going to show it up close because some people get freaked out by frogs, but I think she's cute as anything.
And
But yeah, that's what's going on here.
but the
Is ode to
caterpillar was
frog.
too cute, so she couldn't feed it to him. She had to raise him. So
Right. And so it's in its pupa stage right now. All right, I have gone ahead and I've we'll come back to the tomato hornworm
Butterflies,
story in a second. But I've gone ahead and I've added the size 11s. I started by going through the first size 11 demi, and I added an 11 round, 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 and then I went through the last demi. And the reason I do that is I like the top and bottom not to look clunky. I like it to kind of have a more streamlined look. And I've come up to the top and I cut off the side, the previous, this was my previous demo for the side, the peyote stitch, so that it wasn't in the way. And you can see that it starts to curve. Can you see how it's curving there?
yeah.
So, and that's okay. That's because they're getting better. And what I do is I go through and once again, knot it, just using a half hitch. Now I'm going to go back down through both of the first size demi. So I'm coming out of that first size demi, and then I'm going to step up into that first size 11 round. And I'm going to now peyote stitch all the way down to the bottom using the size 8 demis. So we can go back to talking about tomato hornworms while I do that. So how long do you think yours are going to be in the pupa for there? Do you know?
I Googled the pink horn, whatchamacallit, and they said around 27 days.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was a lot. So yeah, we put dirt on the bottom of the cage, and so they burrowed down in there. And but I haven't seen anything flying. So do they only fly at night? Maybe, I'm not sure, because I just felt
Well, I think they do. They only come out at night.
So will they hatch at night too? That's my
I
question.
don't know, and I'll show you why I don't know in just a second. So I'm going down to the bottom here using the size 8 demis.
So it's only one pass of each size, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So you can see it's starting to ruffle here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So, and then I'm going to go down all the way, but down to the bottom and turn and come back up. And I'm going to go up through the size 11 demi round. I'm going to go up through the size 11 round and up through the very bottom of the very bottom size 8 demi round.
So I went from 11s to 8s, and mine's curving a lot. So if
you didn't use the demis?
I didn't use a demi. I went from an Ico to a regular 11 to then an 8. So maybe I went too fast.
No, it'll be great. It'll be great.
Because yeah, it's like a
it'll just, it probably does. And once you twist it, how many do you have in your first row?
I did 19.
Okay, yours should twist beautifully. Mine's not going to twist that much because it's too short, but yours will twist beautifully, and you'll see the twist happen at the end. Okay.
But I twisted in the middle. All of a sudden I realized I'm going through the Icos. So that's what you have to be careful that first
right
row,
you only want to go through. Yeah, you want to make sure that you go through the right bead. Yeah. So can you see where the thread's coming out here?
Oh yeah, totally.
So the last thing I'm going to do here is a size 8 round, size 8 round, size 8 round, size 8 round, size 8 round. But before I do that, I'm actually going to go ahead and show you something based on our previous conversation, because we're all over the place here. So here's where my tomato hornworm is.
Oh, cool.
This little guy right here.
Wow. So they don't burrow.
No, he's just right at the bottom here. And I don't know when he's going to come out, but I hope he comes out soon. And I don't know when, because I couldn't go ahead and find an actual, every time I Googled it, they said to me, anywhere from 28 days to 3 months.
Right. Well, the swallowtails can live over winter even. They can hibernate like in your garage or your basement or whatever. So if they come too late in the year, they can stay over winter, which I thought was crazy.
So here I'm going up. Yeah, it's amazing that, you know, it has to be just the right humidity apparently for them, and it has to be just the right temperature for them. And so I don't know when my guy's going to come out, but I do know that he's okay, because every so often I put my finger in there and I touch it and it wiggles, which is a little disturbing. So can you see how this is curved?
Oh yeah, that's looking really cool.
So I'm going to just knot it at the top. There we go. And if I go ahead and straighten it out, it becomes a ruffle. You see that? But if I curve it around like this with my fingers, and you can see this one doesn't spiral as well because it's not long enough, but there it's starting to spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And here is a longer one that if you let it be straight, it's a ruffle. And if you curve it around, it's a spiral.
Super fun.
And that's it.
It's just like,
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Marlene.
aww. But maybe that's how they get them to put in their the scientific, where you save all the butterflies and you post them to your boards and everything.
Right.
I don't know.
So anyway, that's it. That's it. All I have for fringe and butterflies.
Well, it's so much fun, right?
I
Does
love
anybody
fringe.
else have a fringe that they like that we haven't covered yet? Have you heard of a fringe that we've never done? I mean, we did right angle weave fringe, we did regular fringe, peyote fringe, spiral fringe, twisted fringe, branch fringe, leaf fringe.
I know.
It's
That's
just
a lot of
so much.
beads.
It is. It's so much fun. I really think that the possibilities are limitless, because then you change size of the beads, because you could, in this spiral twisted fringe, you could add rounds and fire polish and all of that, can't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The only reason that I just have this simple stuff at the bottom right here is just because I wanted to do it quickly. So I'll add all kinds of stuff at the bottom.
Well,
And
what
I
about
usually
adding
just
them
do
while you're doing it? Like, instead of an 8-0 round, after that, you put in then a 2 mil fire polish, and then you did
right.
3 mil round. Can you just do peyote with using more bigger beads and bigger and other shapes too? Will that still work?
It sure will. The only thing you have to be careful of is if this top section right here is real small compared to like the chunkiness of the bottom, then the fringe will tangle. So you do need to make sure that this top is not too thin compared to the bottom. I once did an entire necklace, which unfortunately I don't have, I think, on this computer, that had 14 karat gold size 15 beads as a straight fringe on the top. And then there were these huge, like size 10 and 12 millimeter beads at the bottom that were semi-precious stone, and they were really heavy, and the whole thing just ended up tangling horribly. So that's the only thing to be careful of, is if the bottom section gets too heavy and too big compared to the top. Oh, and Marlene, you may want to, in addition, try putting that little swallowtail into a shadow box, and that'll help save it.
Right.
So,
Oh, that's
All
a
right.
good idea. And so much fun.
so that's it for me today.
Yeah. I'm loving these colors I'm using. So I'm gonna go home and finish beading these spiral fringes.
Oh, I'm glad.
Everybody that has been commenting loved your entire demonstration. So thank you both ladies.
Sure. It was my pleasure.
And everybody loves the bug talk. Yep. So it's nice to know everybody's talking gardens this time of year.
I know.
So,
It really
well,
is fun.
anybody else have any more questions they want to ask, comments to make? You can unmute yourself and make your comments if you're on Zoom. Feel free. Oh, and Hannah, your mom says Miriam, my grand frog.
Yes. That is her name. She lives in this. She lives in this little terrarium behind me at about, she likes 75 to 85 degrees because she's from Southern Australia.
Wow.
In real life. And she is, if you want to take a look at her, I'm not going to bring her out because some people get really freaked out by amphibians. But if you like frogs and want to see what kind, then look up a picture of dumpy tree frog or whites, the color whites tree frog, and you'll see what she looks like. I've had her for, I think, about 6 years now. I was teaching a class at a bead store in Columbus, which unfortunately is no longer there. But Sean called me while I was teaching in the middle of class and said, I got something for you. And I said, what? And he said, you'll never guess. So of course I had to guess, and all the class had to guess. And of course we never came up with a frog. He had been looking for something on Craigslist, and somebody was giving her away for free because they thought she was boring. And so he brought this frog home, and I came home to this frog, which we named Miriam.
I love it. What a great name.
She's really mellow. She lets me hold her and feed her, and I like her very much. But some people really get freaked out.
How long do frogs live? I mean, those cane toads I know are like 50 years old, but
yeah, these guys can live for 20 years in captivity, apparently. And we don't know how old she was when I got her. So we're just enjoying every day with her.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I tell
Well,
you.
anybody else have any more comments? No? Okay.
We have Marlene loves frogs, and they're in Florida, and they said they have all these tree frogs living in the bushes out in the front by the front.
Oh, nice. I love tree frogs. I love the way they sound.
I love their little suction cups on their little toes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, now, Miriam is actually a tree frog. She's just a huge one. She's about the size of my palm. And she does have suction cups. So, yeah, that's one of my favorite things is her little toes.
Mm-hmm.
So cute. Have you done a glass blown tree frog, or Sean done a glass blown?
Sean does tree frogs. He does tree frogs. Okay. So, but I don't do tree frogs.
You don't do critters, that's right.
No, I don't. I do. I do dragons, but I don't do.
Right. You do big critters.
Right.
Yay. Well, this is so much fun. So we won't be doing Beading Basics Live again in August because we're having our giant month-long full of stuff. So look at the website so that you can sign up for classes starting on Monday. We'll have different classes on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and then some Saturdays. And I think at the moment there's like 15 classes signed up for August. So everybody look, and then we'll be back again, our regular schedule for Beating Basics Live in the middle of September. It'll be a little close to our meeting, of course, because of Labor Day, but August 2nd, we'll have Wendy Roy. She couldn't join us today because I believe she's at another powwow. But powwow season's back in full blown, you know, so we are really lucky that our meetings on Mondays are Monday nights, so that doesn't interrupt your meet. So August 2nd, make sure that you put that on your calendar for our Monday meeting. But before that, we're going to have a meet the teachers virtual live for our Beating Basics, or I mean our August demo and do. Sorry, all these terms, we're trying to come up with fun ones. So from 4:30 to 5:30 on August 2nd, before the meeting, you'll be able to meet all the teachers for the demo and do, and they'll go over all their projects. You'll be able to see them, the different colorways, and hear about them, what it entails. And so for 1 hour, and we'll be streaming that live to the public and then Zooming to members. So then you can ask the teacher questions and anything like that you need before the big fun month long of classes. So look forward to get your beading on, your polymer clay. We've got embroidery because Hannah Rosner is doing her scissor or cell phone pouch. And that one is on the 19th. So everybody, and it's from 4 to 8 p.m. So you can do everything during the day and then join her for a late afternoon, early evening class. And hers is embroidery, mixed media, and we've got all the supplies here at Bobby Bead. So then you can get the supplies for Hannah's August 19th demo and do class then. But look forward to our Meet the Teachers on August 2nd. And we'll be emailing everybody and putting notifications out for that too. So there's that. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We'll
Thank
see
you.
again. Happy beating.
Bye.
Bye.